Looks like Disney is finally getting the message. They're not even holding a full-scale premiere for Snow White. Honestly, I was starting to think my invite just got lost in the mail. Hey y'all, Snarky J Cosplay here, and today we're diving into the latest shakeup in Hollywood. Reports from insiders say Disney is massively scaling back the premiere of its much-anticipated Snow White live-action remake amid ongoing controversies. But what's really interesting is how Variety and other outlets decide what's toxic versus what's just controversial. But we'll get into that in a bit. If you're unfamiliar with Disney premieres, they're usually huge. We're talking red carpets, A-list stars, past and present Disney legends, press, photographers, and even celebrities who have nothing to do with the film. Oh, and let's not forget the masses of Disney-loving influencers they bring into cosplay or just fill seats. These events are usually grand spectacles. But Snow White? Yeah, not so much. Instead of a star-studded event, Disney is opting for a pre-party and an afternoon screening at the El Capitan Theater on March 15th. No big night gala, no massive guest list, just a scaled-down event with the bare minimum of people who actually need to be there. Of course, our beloved Snow White herself, Rachel Zegler, will make an appearance. Weird, I know, along with the incredibly wooden evil queen, Gal Gadot. Beyond that, it's looking like a low-key affair, limited to photographers, a small house, crew, and the essentials. Uncharacteristically quiet for Disney, almost like they're trying to avoid attention. Disney has been unusually quiet about the whole situation. Even when people have reached out for comment, they've given nothing. And that's weird, because you'd think that remaking the movie that put Disney on the map nearly 100 years later, okay, they're short by 12 years, but whatever, would be a huge deal. But instead, it's been a train wreck from the start. Now, here's where things get interesting. Variety ran an article blaming so-called toxic Disney fans for the backlash, claiming people were only upset because Rachel Zegler is Latina and was cast as Snow White. They also mentioned that those same toxic fans took issue with some of her, controversial comments about the film. Funny how fans and online commentators get labeled as toxic so quickly, while an actress can openly bash the beloved source material she was cast to remake. And it's totally fine. Zegler went off about Snow White's love story, calling the prince a stalker, which, let's be real, is a huge stretch, while also contradicting herself left and right. First, she says she's a huge Disney fan who grew up going to the parks every summer. Did she, though? Then, in the same breath, she admits she only watched the original Snow White once and never revisited it because it scared her. She even talks about how she dreads being recognized in line for the Snow White ride, as if it's some huge inconvenience. And let's not forget the blatant double standards. Apparently, it's not toxic to completely discredit and dismiss the work of your male co-star. Who knows? Maybe all of Andrew Burnap's scenes will get cut entirely. But what is toxic? Fans daring to question the hypocrisy of an actress who trashes fairy tale love stories, while constantly posting about her own very real relationship. Zegler insists Snow White isn't about romance anymore because it's not 1937. She's not going to be saved by the prince. But with all the PR disasters, production troubles, and now a barely there premiere, Rachel Zegler has been making it clear. Her Snow White isn't dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about being a leader. Now, look, I think empowering young women is great. We absolutely should tell those stories. But why does it always have to come at the expense of romance? Why act like dreaming about love is somehow lesser than dreaming about power? As someone who grew up not caring about romance, let me tell you, real life already hands you leadership, stress, and responsibility. That stuff just happens when you grow up. You know what doesn't just happen? A prince falling head over heels for you because your woodland fairy singing is just that enchanting. That's fantasy, and fantasy is supposed to be fun. We should be able to dream about both. Inner strength and fairy tale love aren't mutually exclusive. But apparently, Disney thinks we need a girl boss, TM Snow White, as if that's what was missing from the original story. Call me old-fashioned, but I think that's nonsense. And that's just one of the many controversies surrounding this movie. Variety's article also touched on the drama behind the scenes, specifically the expensive reshoots, supposedly costing Disney millions after Peter Dinklage slammed the original concept of the Seven Dwarfs as stereotypical. So, Disney scrambled. Their first attempt a diverse group of people instead of dwarfs. Then they scrapped that idea too. And what did they land on? 7 CGI nightmare creatures that look like they crawled straight out of a horror movie. Bold. Choice Disney, but wait, there's more. There's also some serious political tension between the film's two leads. Rachel Zegler has been an outspoken supporter of the Free Palestine movement, while Gal Gadot, who plays the evil queen, is Israeli and a former member of the IDF. In today's Hollywood climate, you can't convince me that Disney isn't trying to keep them as far apart as possible. So, how's the fan reception? Crickets. Seriously, it's bad. Despite Disney trying to pretend everything's fine, their own YouTube trailer racked up over 12 million dislikes before they hit the numbers. That tells you everything you need to know. Disney's Snow White remake is getting roasted into oblivion, and honestly, it looks like the studio is just taking the loss lying down. Think about it. Where's the promo? Compare this to Disney's previous live-action remakes. The Lion King got a massive marketing push. The Little Mermaid, even though Disney lost money on it, they still went all out. You couldn't walk through Target without tripping over some kind of merchandise tie-in. But this one, nothing. It's almost like Disney knows they have a dud on their hands. Maybe they've finally learned their lesson. They see the controversy isn't going away. They realize the movie itself probably isn't great, and now they're just cutting their losses. I mean, they didn't even bother making Rachel Zegler actually look like Snow White. Seriously, they could have at least tried. Right now, she's giving more Lord Farquaad than Fairytale Princess. You'd think all that saved money on hair and makeup would have gone into marketing, but nope. And with just 9 days left until this movie hits theaters, it's clear. This is it. No last-minute media blitz, no major push. And yeah, despite all this, I have to watch it. I've spent way too much time talking about this train wreck to not see how it plays out. I'm not excited about it. I don't want to sit through it, but I'll be there. And I'll be fair, so in 9 or 10 days, we'll meet again like old friends. Old friends who belong to a very exclusive club of people who just can't look away from a disaster. And that wraps up today's discussion. We talked about the much discussed and often controversial group, the toxic Disney fans, and their influence on the conversation surrounding Disney's latest moves. But what do you think? Do you agree with Disney's decision to scale back the Snow White premiere, or do you think it's an overreaction? Let's get the discussion going in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, I've been Snarky J, and I truly appreciate you spending your time with me today. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content, your support means the world to me and helps keep this channel going. If you want to stay connected, be sure to follow me on Instagram for updates, behind-the-scenes moments, and more of my daily thoughts. And if you'd like to take your support a step further, you can check out my Patreon. There, you'll get access to exclusive content, including special photo shoot sets and cosplay content that you won't find anywhere else. Your support on Patreon helps me create even more awesome content for you all, so I'd truly appreciate it if you take a look. All the links to my socials and Patreon will be in the description below, so be